Welcome to Leaning Towards Six Sigma. What is design thinking? A process or an ability of bringing innovative solutions in the form of products and services in order to create customer value, isn't it? Because customer needs are ever changing. It's not going to be stagnant, and ever changing demands from needs from the customer, especially the hidden needs of the customer. When I say hidden, it's all customer cannot articulate what the needs are. So it's up to the manufacturer or the service design, a service provider to design a product or service. And also competition adds the challenge. So let's look at what is design thinking, which I'm going to cover in my next slide. It's very simple. What is design thinking? A simplest form of a definition. And examples of design thinking is more interesting. I have picked up a couple of examples from around, and also design thinking and the DFSS Six Sigma. What is the comparison at a very high level, and what is the takeaway? So let's look at this definition as it is. I have just reproduced from Wikipedia and from the Design Council of UK. It's very interesting. Design thinking is a set of cognitive, strategic, and practical processes by which design concepts are developed. And Design Council beautifully said, discover, define, develop, and deliver. This definition I liked most because it says discover. That word is very interesting. How do I discover the needs of a customer? How do I translate that requirements into the product design and also manufacture and deliver? Let's look at a couple of examples. It will be very interesting to see this definition. Now, before that, my definition is, as per my experiences, whatever design you bring in, a design thinking is to create customer value through innovative solutions. Simple. If any of your solutions do not create customer value, then that solution is not of any use at all, isn't it? If the customer has to use it, appreciate, and it is something which they were longing for, and finally when you provide, they say, yeah, this is the one I wanted. That kind of a solution, isn't it? That's a customer value. Let's look at few examples. We are going to look at the example. Just think about MRI scanning machine. So I always consider MRI is scan or scare. I would prefer to say MRI is a scare. So, and you must have heard a lot of horror stories of your relatives. Probably you must have gone through this. I myself have gone through this particular process a couple of times, and it was very stressful to be inside for 30 minutes with all the weird sounds, isn't it? And especially think about if you are a kid, if there is a kid of 10-year-old, so it's very difficult to convince, and they go through a lot of stress before you convince a kid. So boo, because kids will consider this as something as career mission, isn't it? So let's look at the next slide, how an MRI scanner can be better presented, bringing the real needs and the concerns of a kid. Let's look at, yeah, look at this picture. This is actually MRI scanner, and how beautifully designed or how beautifully painted all around the places. And of course, kids would love, and they will never feel scarier about this particular place. It doesn't look like an hospital, isn't it? And it doesn't look like a machine which is going to make weird sounds. Of course, the functionality of the MRI will remain same, but keeping the patient, keeping the kids, comfortable, and no stress at all. That's most important part of the hospital to serve the patient, isn't it? So this is one thing. How is it related to design thinking? So you need to bring in that the hidden needs and implied needs of a customer, whether kid or an adult, and bring it along and create a product and service that will serve the customer value. That's how I look at it, this example. And also what I feel, the design thinking, when I mentioned design thinking is to create a customer value, keeping that in mind, how much customer value any of the OTT platforms bringing it across, especially the Netflix, whether you are a fan of Netflix or not. I am appreciating the design concept here, the user experience what they had created. And whenever you want to watch a particular movie, a particular segment of a movie, it gives you options automatically. And if you say play something based on your previous history of it and your ratings, etc., it gives you wonderful easy navigation. You don't need to search too much because it has hundreds of movies of various languages, isn't it? So I personally believe it's a personal recommend. It's what they say is here. It offers personalized recommendations to help you find shows and movies of interest to you, and of course, it's powered by AI. And it's the kind of design, the color scheme of things, and how they have designed the whole experiences. I would consider this is one of the topmost example. So this is another example of Ola or Uber, anyone for that matter. It's a complete user experience. According to me, is a very animated way of interacting with the customer, isn't it? And we can see the icon of the cars moving around, and you know which car to choose, and you know how much you are going to pay, and you know how much time it's going to take, and it's a wonderful experience. I'm looking at this as a as an hidden implied customer needs are beautifully designed using the technology. That's how I look at it. That's also in the design thinking, according to me. So where are we right now? The final design thinking and DFSS. How is it related, and whether each one complements each other, or is it design thinking itself is enough, etc. Let's look at. I'm just comparing between design thinking and DFSS at a very high level. And design thinking specifically talks about certain methodology: empathize, define, ideate, proto, test. And you all know that world over people follow this. I don't need to explain much. So it follows certain steps to bring in new product and services, isn't it? On the other hand, if you look at Six Sigma, design for Six Sigma uses a methodology: define, measure, analyze, design, and verify. Also, it follows IDOV method as well. And if you look at here, customer requirements you have to obtain, and then you have to data and process metrics establish. You create a new process, test the process, and finally verify the feedback loop and continuous improvement, and so on at a very high level. So this is a very robust methodology DFSS is offering to bring in new product and services. So when you compare these two, my view on these two methodology is, or these two thinking is as follows. So DFSS, it follows either DMADV or IDOV, is more data driven, and design thinking requires creative and innovative thinking. Both approach considers creating new process. First of all, we don't go to the asses and then look at it. The baseline capability, etc., is a past. I'm creating a new product and services. So both, yes. Also, design thinking and DFSS both. The goal is to solve, create real customer problems and add customer value. Both, equally treats that way. And design thinking and DFS are not two different approaches in the sense. Let me put it this way. If at all you need to combine the design thinking and apply at a higher level of understanding customer requirements, you can do the design thinking. But when you create certain things, you have to bring out new solutions, and it has to be structured way. You need to deploy and then bring the idea into the reality, apply DFSS, and create robust first time right process to deliver the solutions and create value. So design thinking complements DFSS. I don't say it's in isolation. That kind of a thinking, and you need to bring in certain ideas in such a way you bring out all the implied needs of the customer and articulate it, and then apply the DFSS methodology, which will definitely make it a reality. That's how I see it. So finally, the takeaways are: design thinking is applicable equally to manufacturing and service, especially the service segment, which largely not covered structurally in terms of design service provider. There is no such function in most of the companies. Service sector value design not penetrated still. That's how I see it from my experience of consulting. As well as digitalization of value delivery makes it critical for design thinking. Naturally, you need to think new ways of creating customer value. For example, someone may say, we have done a lot of digitalization, but customers are not really liking it. They like to interact with our call center. They like to walk into our one of the branches and then apply for certain service. Why? Which means just digitalization will not help. What is the value delivery you create? That's more important. Design thinking, skill, and application both must for customer experience and service design team. More in the case of service side, I'm just advocating it. Also, Six Sigma, the DFSS complements the design thinking. Both work together. That's how I see.
Thank you for your time. Until we meet with another interesting blog, keep exploring, leaning towards Six Sigma.